exist anymore, or poorly configured mail servers. Unfortunately, not all admins are as good as us, right? So there's going to be poorly configured mail servers. Also open proxies and poorly configured proxies that proxy not only web traffic, but they open up other ports for mail as well. So these are all attributes to spam. As of 2007, January, Verizon, Serverflow, and AT&T are the top 3 networks sending spam. So let's talk about the circle of spam. One, you've got the spammer's website, whether it be a Viagra website, Xanax, that ain't working. Xanax, whatever drug that they're selling, okay? And then, of course, you have the spammer. The spammer is going to be the mail server, and they're going to send out the spamware to your PCs. Your PCs are going to get infected with them and send mail out to other mail servers, which are going to hit the users and send them to the spammer's website. This is what we consider the circle of spam. This is actually taken off the internet by Fubar, Fusco, and Admiral Boltz. Okay. There's a new trend. The new trend is you're actually going out and downloading the virus or Trojan, and you're putting it on your PC. If anybody here, and I'm going to ask for a show of hands, anybody here goes for a no CD key, a crack, a cheat, a serial, you download it, you could probably put on a no key CD crack that's sending out spam. I've actually had multiple instances of this just in the last 6 months where I've seen it, and it's definitely sending out spam. You get in the RBLs. We'll talk about the RBLs. So let's talk a little bit about the types of spam that you see. There's about 3 different types of spam. There's corporate spam. Now, corporate spam is kind of a gray area. It's somewhat tolerable. You go to a mortgage site, you sign up for, the best mortgage rate, and the next thing you know, they share the mailing list with about 50 million other people, or they sell the mailing list. So this is somewhat tolerable because you want the information, but it becomes burdened on your email server and your email account. Fraud spam, Nigerian 419. This is the most popular. I'm a rich, repressed Nigerian man. I need help getting out of the country, all my millions of dollars. Please help me. I get 3 or 4 of these a day sometimes. I used to. And just plain phishing. Phishing's where eBay sends you hey, guess what? You got to validate your information. Go to this website and type in your account information. They're phishing. You're not actually going to eBay. IE7's actually got a new phishing filter in. It fishes out whether or not they're sending you to a legit site or not. So it's getting better, but we're still seeing the spam. Typical spam. Typical spam is Viagra, mail enhancement, pump and dump. Pump and dump is something new, trend over the last 2 years. Pump and dump is actually penny stocks. What they do, they go out, they buy stock in the company, they send pump and dump saying it's going up Monday. Come on, guys, buy. And by the time you buy, it's already too late. They've pulled out and made their money. And we're seeing a big trend of this. This is actually a targeted campaign now. They're actually targeting you and basically focusing their efforts on one company. So there's some legalities in all of this, but I'm going to tell you why they're not helping. There's AUPs or AUPs, acceptable use policies of ISPs. But the problem with this is that if you have a contact management solution, which a lot of these people claim they have, it's kind of a gray area. Okay? It's somewhat acceptable use. You're buying a service on a server. You're sending out to 400 or 500 people a day, but that's your business. They've committed to that business. It's kind of tough. CAN Spam Act of 2003, and despite lawmakers controlling the Assault of Non-Solicited Pornography and Marketing Act of 2003, soliciting pornography and marketing is not what spam means. Spam actually originates from the Monty Python skit, where he goes to order something, and they keep telling him, everything has spam, and they start singing spam, spam, spam. Okay? There's U.S. computer crime statutes. Says that spammers can't install viruses on your computer. It's illegal. Article 13 of the European Union Directive and the Australian Spam Act of 2003. These are all ineffective because it's very difficult to find these people. So let's recap. Spam's going to get worse. Your neighbors are spamming you. Spamming techniques are now organized, and they're making focused efforts on individual companies. And some types of spam are somewhat tolerable, so it's kind of tough. Laws aren't being enforced enough, so where do we go from here? Oh, we become vigilantes, right? We take it into our own hands. And one of the things that we can do to be vigilant and make sure that we're stopping spam is, one, email filtering, and two, virus checking. Okay? Actually, three things. And tighten security. When we email filter and virus check, we're checking stuff coming in. And that's, what you thought this was all about. Okay? But tightening security is something often overlooked. It's called egress filtering. Nobody ever egress filters. You go out, you buy a cable router, you stick it on your line, right? Great, I'm protected from all the stuff coming at me. But what happens when you get something on your PC that goes out? Nothing's stopping it. So the only machines that should actually connect to a mail server on the outside of your company is your email server. So you should be egress filtering port 25. So if a client gets a virus, they're not spewing out and your IP isn't going to get blacklisted in a DNSBL. So these are all areas overlooked, but in best practices. So how do we email filter and virus scan? Well, I like open source. Why? Not because I don't like buying new stuff and being held to the manufacturer's development cycle. Okay, I kind of like taking the development cycle into my own hands and modifying it. But the thing is, they're highly configurable. One of the products we're going to talk about today is Mail Scanner, totally free. Spam Assassin, ClamAV, Vipul's Razor, Pizer, and DCC. The DNSBLs and the RBLs. Something called Rules du Jour. Mail Scanner MRTG, and some open source scripting. So, what does a typical corporate email server look like? To our typical corporate email server, you've got your internet mail servers out here. You've got a firewall. We talked about that. And your Exchange server sitting back here. You're going to allow port 25 to come in. And basically, the only options that you have now, if you want to scan, is basically installing something on the Exchange server. So that's all good and fine, but the Exchange server is already overburdened with 300 people hitting it. If you've ever looked at a Microsoft deployment, they ask for some pretty intense resources. So the last thing we want to do is put email and virus scanning on the same unit. The other thing is that actually opens you up to a denial of service attack. Okay? So there's some things that Microsoft's actually provided. It's coming out in 2007. Smart Screen Technology, or IMF, and Symantec Antivirus, of course, is another product, third party. So the best solution is to actually put in a gateway in between the mail servers out there and your Exchange. You're still going to allow 25 in, but you're only going to allow it to your gateway. This way, Mail Scanner will actually focus on scanning the mail and the viruses, and Exchange will focus on just serving the clients. And this is the best solution. Now, there's some major components to a gateway, and that's actually what I want to discuss in some detail with you, because a lot of these are critical. And if you skip one, I'll tell you some of the problems throughout that you'll find yourself in. So you'll notice Mail Scanner is at the heart of it all. There's another product called Amazvid New, if anybody's familiar with that. It's actually an excellent product as well. I've worked with both. There's Postfix, DNSBLs, MRTG, ClamAV, Spam Assassin, which is going to be the heart of your spam checking. And then there's some plugins, DCCs, DNSBLs, there it goes again, Rules du Jour, and then some external scripts that'll help Mail Scanner do some things that will help you later on. So what is Mail Scanner? Mail Scanner is actually an open source application that ties other well-known open source applications or spam fighting utilities together. Mail Scanner is free. Mail Scanner is actually maintained by Julian Field of Southampton University, and it's extremely flexible. So Mail Scanner actually has a built-in phishing engine, and we actually check our own mail through this because when we go to send out mail, we don't want it to be perceived as, spam. So we'll actually look at the checks that Mail Scanner does on our own email when we send out hey, this event's going on at PTI. Mail Scanner can actually sniff out renamed executables, which drives my entire network team crazy because, hey, great, you can't send me EXEs. Rename it to TXT. Still going to sniff it out. It's still going to see it as an executable. It actually uses a Unix file command. So it's going to actually see that executable, and if you have a policy, no executables, no zips, it's going to strip it out of email. Pornographic email can actually be stripped out and offensive content taken out. So this way, office lady doesn't pull up an email and go, oh my God, okay? That can actually be pulled out and just get URLs. So if you really do want to take a look at what's under, that URL, you can click on it still. Spam actually can be tagged, rejected, discarded, archived, or forwarded to another address for inspection. I tell you, don't do that. There's legalities there. But tagging is actually what you want to do. And there's a couple different things that you can do with Mail Scanner. We do a pass and tag, or tag and pass. So what's under the hood of Mail Scanner? Well, you've got everything external here. There's SMTP, your mail servers out there on the internet sending you mail. There's the MTA process on your machine, some file directories, and then there's Mail Scanner. Mail Scanner can do the RBL checks, spam assassin checks, the virus checks, the attachment checks, like I told you, and other content checks that you see fit. You can actually create these as plugins and put them in. And then you'll put them back into the file system, and your MTA will send them out to your Exchange server or Lotus server. So, MUAs, MTAs, MDAs, right? What the hell? What are all of these things? Well, if you read the RFC 2821, they define Simple Mail Transport Protocol. And pretty simply, it's confusing if you read the article, actually. But MUAs are the user agent, Outlook, Pine, Mutt, might even be the worm or virus that you installed on your laptop trying to get the no CD key. Okay? You put the key in, bang, it just sent it out. That part is the agent, the part that you function with. The MTA is going to be Outlook, or rather Exchange, Postfix, SendMail, Exim, QMail. These are all MTAs, popular MTAs out there. MTA could also be that virus or Trojan you've installed on your PC. It's silently sending out mail. MDAs are the delivery agent, and we don't really see that other than when we configure, an ISP's POP server. You're connecting to that MDA. So, look at a bird's eye view of MUAs, MTAs, and MDAs. You've got a person here, Alice, and I stole this from the internet, so I'm not sure who the source is. Alice's MUA could be Outlook, or Outlook Express, could be AOL, whatever. It's going to call the sending MTA on Alice's machine, or the server, the remote server for her ISP server, and it's going to send that information out through port 25 to the destined server. The destined server is going to put it into the MDA, and the MDA is either going to put it into a database or a file structure into Bob's mailbox. Bob is going to start up a client that's configured with IMAP, POP, or NFS, and Bob's going to retrieve those messages. So really what we want to do, there's two types of email spam blockers you can put out there. One is out in the port 25 range, watching it as it comes in. The second are those products that you can actually purchase, that tell you, hey, you can install this on the client. You don't have to worry about your ISP's poor tactics of combating spam. You can actually install this in Outlook. The problem with that is that the mail server is still going to be pulling in spam. So again, it opens it up to a DOS attack or denial of service attack. And those products usually get installed on the MUA, and they're somewhat effective. So I'm going to talk about Postfix. Postfix as an MTA. I've used SendMail and Postfix. I've tried to shy away from Exim. Exim is another one. I've also used QMail as an MTA. Basically, the MTA is going to be mail transfer agent on the gateway, and it's going to accept mail in on port 25, and it's going to put it in a directory. Now, that directory, you're going to tell Mail Scanner to watch. And Mail Scanner, when it sees mail in that directory, it's going to pick it up and it's going to process them. When Mail Scanner is done, depending on what rules or policies you've set in place, it's going to put that